Hey everybody, it's me, David. I'm back again with another episode of Squad Leader. This time I'm going to take you back to Stalingrad and episode 3, the Streets of Stalingrad. Looking at the setup, it looks like we only have a number of tanks fighting off against each other. But wait, let's not get ahead of ourselves. There are a number of special rules here, and basically what this game does is it takes the Guards Counterattack and the Tractor Works, combines them into the Streets of Stalingrad. If you remember from last time, the most important part of this scenario card is under the victory conditions, so let's have a look. Winning is based upon satisfying the victory conditions of scenarios 1 and 2. If each side fulfills one victory condition, the game is a draw. If a player fulfills one victory condition and draws the other, it wins. A decisive or double victory is achieved when a player fulfills both victory conditions. Has a number of variations. Sewer movement, armor movement, sewer and armor movement are optional. Here's the special rules. This is key. Use exact order of battle setup provided in scenario 1 and 2. Scenario 1 does up first, and there you go. And see there, they can move on both sides of the board. Only the Russians can use sewer movement. And if you use armor, that armor may delay entry 1 turn, and thereafter enter on any southern or eastern hedge. Very interesting. So let's have a look. Rules sections 27 to 41. What exactly are those? Let's go have a look. In the rule book, we can see here with the scenario card graphic of scenario 3, sewer movement is number 27. Get beyond that, we get into armored fighting vehicles. For the purposes of this video, we will only go with sewer movement. Having said that, now let's have a look at the setup. As stated, first we set up scenario 1 as per the card. You can see we've done this. Next, scenario 2, as per the card. Remembering, of course, that this was sequential as well, with these guys first, the Germans next, followed by these Russians. There's the entire board, the entire battle area. Let's zoom in on a couple of areas where things have changed. There are a few key changes. They're not many, but they are key. Let's have a look. Starting with the Germans, we see that the one difference is here. Before, the medium machine gun was firing up to the front and off to the side. But he didn't have to worry about all these Russians over here. Remember, these Russians, if they want, they can come flying this way and really put the pressure on this side. Buy some time and then come back and maybe reinforce there. Remember the original game, they only had 5 turns for this side and they had 8 for this side. But altogether, we have 7. So a little bit faster over here for the Germans to get in. But the Russians can take a little bit more time on this side. So that's why in this hex we have the medium machine gun firing over here to keep these streets lethal and prevent them from coming over. And here is roughly the same, concentrating on the mass of the guards on this side, and there's no real difference in their setup. Up here, you can see that the 10-2 is up front, bring some fire to bear and try to get across the street faster to bring more pressure to bear over here. This side, there really isn't a difference, and I'll tell you right now that those concealed counters are exactly as before, which means this guy is nothing here. Don't tell the Russian player. But basically, this opens up some options, and let's talk about some of those options. Looking at things from the Russian side, sometimes it's good to just sit on the other side of the table. It's almost like there are 2 fingers poking into their lines. One over here, and one over here. So, what they could do is they could take these forces, bring fire and pressure to bear, and come out this way and use these guys simply as a base against which to squeeze the Germans. Meanwhile, over here, they can take their sweet time trying to reinforce. thinking that the Germans are going to have to rush themselves to come in here. They only have 7 turns, not 8 as in last time. That 1 turn can make a difference. Oh, they'll still bring pressure to bear and try to get some guys in there to reinforce it. But if the majority of these forces are going this way, that'll force these guys to strip. Now, having said that, remember how before I had these guys here? They can see over these level 1 houses into this area where these guys were coming. Well, if you do the lines of sight, you can see that these guys coming over here can be affected by them. They can bring their fire to bear and help try to keep the other side open. So for both sides, we have fingers poking into the other. One going this way, one here, and one here. So the Russians, let's face it, the one big difference here, of course, is that we still have to roll to see who goes first, which will dramatically change what happens over here. It's not automatic they're going to fire first. Who knows? Maybe these guys will run away, surrender a building, keep these 2, and just basically try to survive one side while kicking the crap out of them over here. Let's go see what the Germans can do from the other point of view. German point of view is pretty simple. Try to live over here and try to smash the way into here. Essentially what they're going to try to do is lay down some smoke in the street here, strip the concealment, and try to bust into this on turn 1. If they don't go first, if the Russian goes first, they're just simply going to pour as much fire into that building as they can, hoping to strip it. Of course, keeping defensive fire such that they can blast anybody coming through here. But we'll see how things go. That said, it's kickoff time. Let's see what happens for the Streets of Stalingrad. As with scenario 2 of the tractor works, it's a sequential setup, and it's random who goes first. We'll make the red die Russian, the white one German. First, the one that rolls highest will get to go first. And the German gets to go first. All right, time for the prep fire phase. Let's see what happens. As we can see in this flank, the first action by those 2 engineer squads is they each place a smoke counter out in front of the road. Remember, they are free to fire and move depending on what their actions could be. But the first thing that happens is that. Next up, I have a bunch of prep fire markers down just as a reminder as I go through it. You don't have to pre-designate. You can do it as you go along. But I'm just going to start here. First up, I've got this guy here. I've got as a reminder for everybody at home, in case you're taking bets, 467 HMG and a 10-2 liter. Sitting in that hex. Remember, it's sequentially or simultaneously first and second level. He is here, and he's going to bring his fire to bear against this guy again. Counting the hexes, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 hexes away. Squad is halved to 2. Machine gun is full power at 6, for a total of 8. DRM +3 for the stone building, -2 for the leader, for a net DRM of +1. And we've rolled the dice. 6 on the 8 column. +1 is a 7. It's a +1 morale check. 3 guys there. Roll 3 times. 1 for each. 5 + 1 is a 6. For top guy wins. Next guy rolls an 8. He is down. And the last guy rolls a 7. +1 is 8. 2 of them break. Let's apply the results. The results have been applied. We have 2 guys under here who are DM. 1 is in good order still. And over here, we're going to go with the 9-1, a 4.67, and 2 light machine guns firing at this guy. You wonder why I'm not firing there, and I'll explain when you see the range. 2, 4, 6, 8 hexes away. The other guys would be 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 hexes away. Normal range for light machine gun, long range for light machine guns. So we have 4 plus 2 firepowers from the squad for net firepower of 6. DRM +3 for the building, +1 for the, -1 for the leader. Is a net negative modifier of +2. Yeah, that's right. So 6 + 2. And the roll is a 3. reach over and get the counter here. Let's see what happens. 6 firepower, roll the 3, add 2, plus 1 morale check. All right. So for these guys here, there's 3, 4, 4, 7s. They all need 6s or less. First guy, 7, fails. This guy rolls a 6 plus 1 is a 7. He passes. And the third guy rolls a 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. He fails. Let's apply the results. Results have been applied. Under here, we have 2 broken guys in the DM, a couple broken guys in DM over here. So you can see what the German strategy is. They're trying to pinch her off the southern point here and trying to lessen the pressure down at the bottom. All right, let's carry on shooting. Next up, remember this HMG that we used to be able to walk across over here with impunity? Can't do that anymore. He's going to bring fire to bear here. Point to note, I normally don't fire at guys, stacks that have broken Russians, but there is an unbroken Russian in there. That's the guy I'm going for. So I have a 4 and a 6, total of 10, so on the 8 column. -1 for leader, so a total of 8 plus 2 is what's going to be the results here. And let's see what happens. Germans are hot so far. So 4 plus 2 is a 6. 6 on the 8 is a 1 check. All right, start with the good order guy here. You can do it any order you want. Let's see if he happens. That's a plus 1 check. 11 plus 1 is 12. He breaks, so he is broken. Next 2 guys are broken. Remember what happens if you fail a morale check. You're eliminated. 8. 8 plus 1 is 9. He breaks, or he fails his morale check, so he is double broken. He is out of the game. The last guy rolls a 6. Plus 1 is 7. He passes, so he does not break out of the game. This is probably the result. So far, so good for the Germans. You can see here we have 2 broken guys in here. Both are DM'd, and this guy has been eliminated. So the fire across the bottom of the Russian stacks has so far been working. All right, let's carry on. Next up, we have another medium machine gun with a light. With a 4.67, it's going to fire across, and they're going to go in here, normal range. Same as before, firepower of 8, DRM plus 2. Let's see what happens. Jeez. 4 plus 2 is 6. We know it's a 1 check. Let's do it again. Let's do the die on top first. 7 plus 1 is 8. Just fails. The 2 broken guys. 10 fails, eliminated. Next guy, 5 plus 1 is 6, passes, DM. Again, applying the results. The wise ones among you will realize that I was thinking of those broken guys there, but no, they're firing at this hex here. 2 guys failed, 1 passed, so 2 broken and 1 left in good order. Ha! Yeah, I've got to pay attention when I'm doing videos. All right, let's carry on. All right, it's rare on this side, but these guys get to shoot first. Remember the stack here, 9 -2, 3 light machine guns, 3 squads. They're going to fire at these guys here. They're at normal range. They have firepower of 16. 1 light machine gun is not firing. DRM of +1. -2 for leader, +3 for the building. Let's see what happens here. I'll roll the 9. 9 plus 1 is 10. And if you remember right, yes, it's good enough for a morale check. There are 2 4.47s in there. Let's see what they roll. 4. Yeah, that's really good. He passes. And a 5. Overall, no effect. No results to apply. The final move is going to be here. These 2 guys here are going to fire group. That is multi-location fire, fire group. And they're going to shoot here. We're going to try to get them. I mean, it's a -2 leader, but hey, they got to try. Firepower of 6 in each, so that's 12. +3 for the building. Jeez, again, 4. 4 plus 3 is 7, so that is a 1 morale check. Leader needs to roll a 9, and he's good. He rolled a 7. 7 plus 1 is 8. He's good. The 3 6 2 8s, they now have a -1 morale check. They got to roll 9s as well. 3 times. Pass. 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 All right. Germans have done enough firing. It's time to move. Starting on this side, you're going to learn something. This is called the rule of skulking. This guy here, he's simply going to move 1 hex. He's going to go here. Looking at the ground, nobody can actually see him. And he's done moving. Again, this is called skulking, and it's a skill. Movement phase, you move out of line of sight, nobody shoots at you, and you go back. Gain yourself a little bit of time. Let's see what else we can do. Going left to right just sequentially. These guys are going to stay placed. There's no sense of them moving into a line of fire over here. There was no sense of them shooting low odds attacks against these guys. These guys here, however, are going to skulk, as I call it. Back here for 2, back there for 2. So they have moved. Let's go to the other side. Over here, we do have some moves to make. Remember, we have a 4, 6, 7 in here. It's going to jump into the smoke. Jump into the smoke, if I can find him. And these flamethrowers aren't going anywhere. Haha. Finally, up here, this big, huge stack, as before, we'll go for 2, for 4, for 6. Like this. 2, 4, 6. That's it. Now it's time for the Russian defensive fire phase. All right, time for the Russians to fish or cut bait. This guy here, he can open up on somebody. So all 3 of these guys are going to end up probably losing concealment, but this guy here is the most protected location. So he is going to open up first, and he's going to fire point blank at this guy. 8, -2 for moving in the open. Correction, let's go back a step. Firepower 4, double to 8 for point blank. -2 for moving in the open. Yes, it is an open ground hex. And then add a 3rd die because of the smoke. Let's roll and see what happens. 10 -2 is 8. Add a 3rd die. Let's get that out of there. Yeah. +5 is 13. No effect. Well, they're going to have to keep shooting. This guy's going to open up. Remembering that he has a light machine gun and the 4, 6, 7. So it's a 6. It doubles to 12. -2 for point blank and add a 3rd die. All right, so far he has 6. Add the 3rd die. +1 is a 7. We actually have a result. Let's check the dice. 12, 7 is a 1. He has a 1 morale check. Let's see what happens. 8 +1 is 9. He fails. Let's apply the result. So we have a broken German in the street. Next up, this light machine gun is going to fire. Well, you know what? He could fire at him, or he could fire at the here. If he shoots in there, it's a firepower of 12, -2 +1 die. If he shoots here, firepower of 6 +1. Here's a little something to look at. It's firepower 12. With a DRM of -2, the rule of thumb is you make a column shift left for a negative DRM. In this case, it's equivalent, right for a negative DRM. So it's like firing a 20, but for every extra pip on the die, it goes back. That's probably confusing everybody, so let's look at this again. I'm going to fire at the guy with a firepower of 6. He's in the woods. It's a +1 DRM. It's almost the same as a shifting column left to a 4 flat. And I'll explain. Imagine I roll a 4 on the 6 column. DRM +1 takes it to a 1. So it's almost the same as a column shift left. You'll see that when you go down 1, it's almost a shift to the left. Almost. Not the same. So 12 -2. I mean, you're talking, you can get some really good kills there. Anyway, it's a rule of thumb. Let's go for it. So He's going to fire at this guy here to try to keep them out of the fire or out of the tractor works in first turn. 12 minus 2. Rolled a 9, so I'm at a 7, if you remember that. 7 plus 1 die. 7 plus 4 is 11. 11 on the 12 column. No effect. All right. Let's go see what else the Russians can do for defensive fire. Coming over here, these two guys here are going to gang up on the taller stack here, much like we did in the first game, the last video. Remember, total firepower is 32 with the 6 4.47s and the 4 light machine guns. Leader doesn't count because it's multi-hex fire group. Halves for area fire because he's concealed. So therefore, 16 plus 3 for the building. I rolled a 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 on the 16 column. Right here. Plus 1 morale check. Let's apply the results. Here's a reminder of what we have. Concealment has been stripped. 467 has a plus 1 morale check. He rolls a 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. That's equal to or less than his morale, so he is in good order. Let's see what else the Russians can do for defensive fire. Moving down the line, these two groups here with 12 plus 12 is 24 are going to fire on him. 24 is halved to 12 because it's area fire or fire against a concealed unit. So it is going to be 12 plus 3. 9 plus 3. The 12 column is no effect. Carry on down. They're going to do the same thing over here, except this time it's going to be 6 plus 3 on that. We're going to try to see what the heck they got in there. I'm sorry, it's not 6. It's only a 2. I forgot about that. It's no effect. Anyway, next one. He's got 4. He's got nobody next to him. There's going to be a 2 plus 3 on him. Got to roll for snake eyes or something. Roll the 7, no effect. So looking at things so far on this side, all Russian fire has been focused over on this area. Nothing has come the other way. Now is to carry on and see what these guys can do. Next up, him. He's going to fire on that leader again and try to strip the leadership in that building. It's a 12, normal range, 12 plus 3. Because of the terrain, he just missed. Finally over here, these guys are going to pour their fire together in there. So it's a total of 16 plus 3 for the building. Rolls a 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. That's a 1 morale check on those guys in there. And we're going to go with the leader first, followed by the other guys. 7 plus 1 is 8. The leader is good. The plus 1 morale check is negated by the negative 1 leadership of the leader, so now it's a normal morale check on the squad. And that doesn't help. Roll a 10, they fail, and they are going to be broken in DM. Let's apply the results. Here comes some more fire from here. We got the medium machine gun with the squad and the leader. They're going to fire just as this guy here is covering across the road. 8 plus 3 for the building, minus 1 for the leader is an 8 plus 2. Rolled a 5. 5 plus 2 is a 7. A 7 on the 8 column is a 1 morale check. So 4, 6, 7 in there. And yeah, he kind of failed it. Let's apply the results. Now it's time for the Russian to go for the jugular. He's going to fire at him. Broken Germans do not go berserk in squad leader. So we have 3 628s, halved for range, equals the total of 9. That's on the 8 column. Plus 3 for the building, minus 1 for the leader, so it's going to be 8 plus 1. Rolled a 6. It's a plus 1 morale check. Their broken morale is 7. Roll the dice and see what happens. And a calamity! They fail a morale check while broken. Therefore, they are eliminated. Let's apply the results. With that, the Russians end their defensive fire phase. We can see the death toll is, it's starting to climb. We got broken guys all across the board. People are going to have to route and so forth. But now it is time for the advancing fire phase. So let's focus, first of all, on this side here. Nothing's going to happen. These guys here have all moved. They're out of range. They don't see anybody. So their job there is to survive. There is some fire that's going to happen over here, however. Let's see what happens. Remembering that flamethrowers are not affected by smoke, they're going to light things up first. He is going to fire at him. Firepower 20. No modifiers. Rolls a 6. 6 on the 20 column is... Bring the chart over, please. 6 on the 20 is a 3. Plus 3 morale check. Let's do the results. Remembering that he's fanatic, his morale is actually 8. Plus, what did I roll? I rolled a 6. Plus 3 morale checks. Like basically, let's see what happens. 6 plus 3 is 9. Take away 1 for fanaticism is 8. Therefore, it's more than 7. He breaks. Let's apply the result. There he is, broken. Now, I've got a choice. This guy can fire at either of these two guys. He can fire at him. He can fire at him as well. But we're going to see what's happened because this guy can shoot here. I'm going to fire him first. Remember, he has 3 8.38s for a total of 24. And he has some machine guns with him, if I'm not mistaken. He has 2 of them with him for another 4. It's 28. But they're moving, so divide by 2. It's 14. Don't need the machine guns. So it's 12 plus 3 for the building, minus 3 for the leader, so it's a 12 flat. Let's apply the result. It's a 7, pretty average roll. Rolls plus 1 morale check. That guy needs to roll, add 1, take away 1 for fanaticism. So it's looking for a 7. Rolls a 9. It's German for no. He fails. Let's apply the result. So the 2 corners are broken. Time for this guy to light things up. Again, 20 flat on this guy here. Roll the dice. I roll a 7 this time. 7 on the 20 column is a 2. So it's a plus 2 morale check on the guy and the fanatic guy in the middle. So I roll a 6. 6 plus 2 is 8. Take away 1 for fanaticism is 7. His fanatic ass passes. Pardon my language. All right. That's probably going to do it for the advancing fire phase with one exception. Here. These guys didn't move. They didn't want to fire before, but they're going to shoot now because why? Because they're exposed. So they're going to return fire on these guys. They have a firepower, their normal range. 4, 6, 7 plus the 2 light machine guns is a firepower of 8. Plus 3 for the stone building. They rolled a 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 on the 8 column is a 1. Plus 1 morale check. You have 3 guys in there. Let's see what happens. 9. They fail. Next up. 6 plus 1, 7. He passes. Last one, 4. Plus 1 is 5. They pass. Let's apply the results. Results have been applied. Then we can check out across the board how things look at the end of the advancing fire phase. Not much effect over here for firing on the Guards Counterattack side for the Germans. But the Russians, however, have cracked a bit of the defensive fire that goes across the front here. They've also snapped this building, although people did skulk and they'd be able to return back. Russians suffered a bit, and their relief forces are coming through. A squad here and a couple more down below. And it looks like the Germans are ready to jump into the tractor works. All right, let's do the rout phase, and we'll see what the results of the rout phase are. The rout phase is done. Let's see what happened. Guy was in the smoke, went back here. He went back 1 too far. He just goes to here. I'm going to correct that now as we're on the screen. Went back too far. These guys went here and he went there. Didn't move. None of these guys moved. What happened here, you say? Well, the squad went back, but the leader started with him, so he gets to route with him, and he routed back to there. And going across, there was no other changes. All right, so that's it for the route phase. Let's get into the advance phase. Not a lot happened, but let's start over here. The squad with light machine gun went back to their spot here. The squad here took over here for the machine gun so we can cover across the front, leaving the other side open. But that's now covered by the light machine gun shooting up. But with this medium machine gun down, this side is dangerously left open, covered only by the one heavy machine gun. In the middle, no change. Over here, as expected. We have the engineers, coming out into the street, all along here, including the flamethrowers that then cover across. This one squad jumped in here into close combat. The leader moved up here, and the other engineer moved up here at the depth for the attack, so he can follow in and exploit any successes. All that's left to do is the close combat phase. Let's see what happens. As a reminder, close combat is simultaneous. You declare all attacks beforehand. In this case, it's pretty simple. Attack power of 4, attack firepower of 4. They're going to attack each other. German naturally just goes first by convention. So they're looking for a 5 or less. German rolls a 12, so he just missed the Russian. The Russian rolls a 3. The Germans are killed in action. Let's apply the results. So at the end of the close combat phase, we can see what happened here. The Russians were able to successfully fend off the close combat infiltration, whatever you want to call it, by the Germans as they try to get into the building. However, they look out in the street and they see a bunch of guys covered in smoke, some not, flamethrowers galore. Any reinforcement along this side is going to cause a lot of damages. Now, one final thing. These guys could have came over here where all these concealed guys were. And before we get into that, I'm going to do some strips. Over here, he decided to stay here. Yes, he can be shot at from him, but the point is if he's shooting, he's not moving across the street. So he's trying to buy some time. So the last thing, of course, is to remove the concealment counter from here because that guy is adjacent. Let's do that now. As a reminder, it's a light machine gun and a 4.47. So the guy is out on the street. He is at point blank. He's going to face a 12 firepower attack. Having said that, he's not moving in the open, and he's hoping that his 8 level morale will help him. Okay, so that is the end of German turn 1 of Scenario 3, the Streets of Stalingrad. Haven't talked about sewer movement, haven't talked about AFE movement, just talked about some of the differences you can see now, the tactical differences of how the battle on this side can affect the battle on that side, and we saw it with some forces in here getting broken by them. Germans hoping to weaken the southern point, cut these guys to ribbons before they can even get across the road. They took a few bites out of them, but there's still some ways to go. And the other side over here, the Germans have been weakened, and the Russians have a little more time to get in here, so they're probably going to spend a couple of turns blasting their way across the street before they come in. They'll probably use some sewers to try to pop up and surprise these guys. Okay, there you go. The Streets of Stalingrad from Squad Leader. Next up in my series, I'm going to do ASL Scenario Alpha, the Guards Counterattack, followed by ASL Bravo, the Tractor Works, and then ASL Charlie, the Streets of Stalingrad, for you to be able to compare and contrast. Thanks for watching. David out.